Taiho stood on the observation deck of the human dreadnought Unyielding Dawn and looked out at the stars. 3 years. 3 long years of blood and death and fire. The Volani Empire had attacked human colonies without warning, killing millions in the first wave. Now, at last, humanity had won. His body was tired. His soul was tired. The scars on his face and arms told stories he never wanted to share. But he was alive, and that was more than many of his friends could say. A voice came through the ship's speakers. "Captain Taiho, report to the main hall. Admiral Dong-Hyun requests your presence." Taiho sighed. He wanted to rest. He wanted to go home to Earth and see his mother. But duty called, as it always did. The main hall of the Unyielding Dawn was massive. Thousands of soldiers stood in neat rows, their uniforms clean for the first time in months. Flags of Earth hung from the ceiling. This was a victory celebration, and Taiho was one of the heroes they wanted to honor. Admiral Dong-Hyun stood on a raised platform at the front of the hall. He was an old man with white hair and sharp eyes. He had commanded the human fleet through the darkest days of the war. Now he smiled as Taiho walked toward him. "Captain Taiho," the admiral said loudly so everyone could hear. "You led the ground assault that captured the Volani command station. You broke their fleet. You ended this war. Earth owes you a debt that can never be repaid." The soldiers cheered. Taiho felt uncomfortable with the attention, but he stood straight and accepted the honor. As is tradition, the admiral continued, heroes of war are given rewards. Today, we follow an ancient custom. High-value prisoners can be assigned to distinguished warriors as wards. Taiho frowned. He did not like where this was going. The admiral waved his hand, and a door at the side of the hall opened. 4 human guards walked in, and between them were 2 figures that made everyone in the room go silent. They were Volani. Their skin was silver and seemed to glow with soft light. Their hair was long and white like fresh snow. Their eyes were large and colored deep violet. They were beautiful in a way that was not human, like looking at stars given form. But these were not ordinary Volani. Taiho recognized them from intelligence reports. The taller one was Lyra, elder princess of the Volani Empire. She walked with her head held high, even in energy restraints. Her eyes burned with hatred as she looked at the human soldiers around her. The shorter one was Sora, the younger princess. She was quieter than her sister. Her violet eyes moved around the room, watching everything, studying everything. She did not look angry. She looked careful. "These are the daughters of Emperor Riven," Admiral Dong-Hyun announced. "They were captured during the assault on the command station. By right of conquest, they are now prisoners of Earth." The soldiers murmured among themselves. Having alien princesses as prisoners was a powerful symbol of victory. "Captain Taiho," the admiral said, "I am assigning these prisoners to your care. They are now your wards." Taiho stepped forward. "Admiral, I must refuse." The hall went silent. No one refused the admiral. "This is wrong," Taiho said. "Treating people as prizes, even enemies, is not what we fought for. We are better than this." Admiral Dong-Hyun's expression did not change. He stepped closer to Taiho and spoke quietly so only he could hear. "Do you know what will happen to them if you refuse? Other officers have already asked for them. Some want to use them for political games. Some have darker intentions. You are the only person I trust to treat them with honor." Taiho looked at the 2 princesses. Lyra stared back at him with pure hatred. Sora watched him with an expression he could not read. "This is not a reward," the admiral continued. "This is a responsibility. Protect them until we can negotiate a proper peace." "Can I trust you?" Taiho was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. I accept. The ceremony ended, and Taiho led the two princesses through the corridors of the ship toward his quarters. Guards followed at a distance, but he waved them away. You do not need guards, Lyra said. Her voice was cold and sharp. We are not going to run. There is nowhere to run. I sent them away because I don't need them, Taiho said simply. Not because of you. Lyra made a sound of disgust. Arrogant human. Do you know what my father will do when he hears of this? He will burn your worlds. He will make your species extinct. Your father's fleet is destroyed, Taiho said. The war is over. The war is never over, Lyra hissed. They reached Taiho's quarters. It was a simple room with a bed, a desk, and a window showing the stars outside. You will stay in the rooms next to mine, Taiho said. They are small but comfortable. You will have food, water, and access to the ship's library. You are not prisoners in a cell, but you cannot leave this section of the ship. Sora spoke for the first time. Her voice was softer than her sister's. Why are you being kind to us? We are your enemies. Taiho looked at her. The war is over. You are not my enemies anymore. You are just two people far from home. Lyra laughed bitterly. Pretty words. But we know what humans really are. Savages who pretend to be civilized. Taiho did not argue. He simply opened the door to their room and stepped aside. Lyra walked past him without another word. But as Sora passed, she stopped and looked up at him. You are different, she said quietly. I do not understand you yet, but I will. Then she followed her sister into the room, and the door closed behind them. Taiho stood alone in the corridor for a long moment. He had fought many battles in his life. He had faced death more times than he could count. But something told him that these two princesses would be the greatest challenge he had ever faced. He did not know how right he was. Taiho's personal ship, the Silent Fury, was small compared to the great warships of the fleet. It had been built for speed and stealth, not comfort. But it was his home, and now it was home to two alien princesses who wanted him dead. The first few days were difficult. Lyra refused to eat the food Taiho provided. She said it was poison. She said it was beneath her dignity. Sora ate quietly, but would not speak to him. Taiho did not force them. He simply left meals outside their door and went about his work. On the fourth day, Lyra finally ate. She was too hungry to refuse any longer. But her hatred for Taiho only grew stronger. You think you are clever, she said when he brought her evening meal. Treating us well so we will trust you. It will not work. I am not trying to be clever, Taiho said. I'm trying to keep you alive until we reach Earth. Why? Lyra demanded. What do you want from us? Nothing. Lyra stared at him. She did not believe him. In her world, everyone wanted something. Power, wealth, influence. No one did anything without expecting something in return. You are lying, she said. Taiho shrugged and left. That night he felt something strange. A pressure in his mind, like fingers trying to push through a door. He recognized it immediately. Telepathy. The Villani were known for their mental powers, and Lyra was trying to enter his thoughts. His neural implants activated automatically, blocking the intrusion. The pressure disappeared. The next morning, Taiho found Lyra in the ship's common room. She looked tired, as if she had not slept. Your trick did not work, he said calmly. Lyra's silver face flushed with anger. How did you block me? Humans cannot resist Villani telepathy. We learned, Taiho said. After your people killed millions of us, we learned very quickly how to protect our minds. He sat down across from her. Let me be clear, princess. If you try that again, I will put you in stasis sleep for the rest of the journey. You will wake up on Earth with no memory of the trip. Is that what you want? Lyra said nothing, but she did not try to attack his mind again. As the days passed, Sora began to change. Unlike her sister, she did not spend all her time plotting and hating. She explored the ship. She read books from the library. She asked questions. Why do humans fight so hard? She asked Taiho one evening. They were sitting in the observation room, watching the stars pass by. What do you mean? In the war, Sora said, your ships were weaker than ours. Your weapons were less advanced. You should have lost, but you kept fighting. Even when you were dying, you kept fighting. Why? Taiho thought about the question for a long moment. Because we had no choice, he said finally. Your father wanted to destroy us completely. Surrender meant death. So we fought. But it was not just survival, Sora pressed. I read the reports. Human soldiers threw themselves on grenades to save their friends. Pilots crashed their ships into enemy vessels. They died for each other. My people do not do this. Then I feel sorry for your people, Taiho said quietly. Sora was silent. She looked out at the stars, and Taiho saw something in her violet eyes. Not hatred, not fear. Something else, curiosity, and maybe, just maybe, a tiny bit of respect. On the 15th day, everything changed. Taiho was sleeping when the alarms began to scream. He jumped out of bed and ran to the bridge. The ship's computer showed 3 vessels approaching fast. Valani ships. Attention, human vessel, a voice crackled over the radio. We are here to rescue the princesses. Surrender them, and you will live. Refuse, and you will die. Taiho checked the weapons. The Silent Fury was fast, but it was not built for combat against 3 enemy ships. He was badly outgunned. He opened the door to the princess's quarters. Lyra was standing there with a smile on her face. My father's loyalists, she said. They have come for us. Your journey ends here. Human, get back in your room, Taiho said. You cannot win this fight. Surrender us, and perhaps they will let you live. Taiho looked at her with cold eyes. I do not surrender, ever. He sealed them in their room and ran back to the bridge. The battle was brutal. Taiho flew the Silent Fury like a man possessed, dodging enemy fire, returning shots when he could. He destroyed one ship with a lucky missile hit. He crippled another by flying directly through its engine exhaust, a move so insane that no Valani pilot expected it. But the third ship was too much. A blast hit the Silent Fury side, and Taiho was thrown across the bridge. Metal fragments cut into his chest and arms. Blood poured from his wounds. He managed to fire one last shot. It hit the enemy ship's reactor, and the vessel exploded in a ball of fire. Then Taiho collapsed. He did not know how long he lay there. Minutes, hours. He could feel his life slipping away, his blood pooling beneath him. Then he heard footsteps. Light, careful footsteps. Sora knelt beside him. Her violet eyes were wide with concern. Lyra, Taiho whispered. Watch, Lyra. My sister is in her room, Sora said. She cannot hurt you. She placed her hands on his chest. They began to glow with soft silver light. What are you? Taiho started to ask. Be quiet, Sora said. Healing takes concentration. The pain began to fade. Taiho felt warmth spreading through his body, knitting his torn flesh back together. It was the most incredible sensation he had ever felt. Long minutes passed. When Sora finally removed her hands, Taiho could breathe again. His wounds were closed, though scars remained. Why? He asked. Why did you save me? Sora looked at him with those strange violet eyes. She seemed tired from the effort of healing him. Because you would have done the same for us, she said simply. Behind them, in the doorway, Lyra stood watching. Her face was unreadable. For the first time since they met, she did not say a word. Lyra had expected a dirty, primitive world. The Valani Empire had always taught that humans were savages who lived in mud and filth. But as the silent fury descended through the clouds, she saw blue oceans and green forests and cities that sparkled like jewels. She said nothing, but Sora noticed her surprise. "It is not what we were told," Sora whispered. Lyra kept her face blank. She would not admit that she had been wrong about anything. Taiho landed the ship outside a city called New Seoul. It was a place of tall buildings and busy streets, but their destination was far from the city center. They drove for an hour through green hills until they reached a small house surrounded by trees and flowers. "This is my home," Taiho said. The princesses stared. This was not a prison. This was not a military base. It was just a simple house with a garden. "You live here?" Lyra asked. Her voice was full of disbelief. "I grew up here," Taiho said. "My mother still lives here." Before Lyra could respond, the front door opened. An old woman stepped out. She was small and thin, with white hair and a kind face full of wrinkles. She wore simple clothes and had dirt on her hands from working in the garden. "Taiho?" she cried, running forward to embrace him. "My son, you are home." "Hello, Mother," Taiho said, hugging her gently. The old woman looked at the two princesses. She did not seem afraid or impressed. She studied them for a moment, then nodded. "So these are your guests," she said. "They look hungry. Come inside, all of you. I made soup." And just like that, Grandmother Yunji took control. The princesses found themselves sitting at a wooden table, eating vegetable soup from simple bowls. Grandmother Yunji moved around the kitchen, filling their bowls again and again, ignoring their protests. "You are too thin," she told Lyra. "Did they not feed you in space?" "Terrible. Eat more." "I am a princess of the Valani Empire," Lyra said coldly. "I do not take orders from—" "You are a guest in my house," Grandmother Yunji interrupted. "And guests eat when food is offered. That is the rule. Now eat." Sora covered her mouth to hide a smile. She had never seen anyone speak to her sister like that. Lyra ate the soup. It was actually delicious. Days passed, then weeks. The princesses had rooms of their own in the small house. They were not locked in. They could walk in the garden, read books from the family library, even help Grandmother Yunji with her plants. It was the strangest prison either of them had ever known. Sora adapted quickly. She loved the garden. She spent hours learning about earth plants, asking Grandmother Yunji endless questions about flowers and vegetables. The old woman was happy to teach her. Lyra was different. She stayed in her room most of the time, staring out the window at the strange blue sky of Earth. She refused to participate in the simple life of the household, but she was watching, always watching. One night, Taiho found her alone in the garden. It was late, and the stars were bright overhead. Earth's stars were different from those of the Valani homeworld. Everything here was different. "You should be sleeping," he said. "I could say the same to you," Lyra replied without turning around. Taiho walked over and stood beside her. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. "I killed 3,000 humans," Lyra said suddenly. Her voice was flat, empty of emotion. "A hospital ship. I ordered my fleet to destroy it. I knew there were civilians on board. Children. I did it anyway." Taiho was silent. "I thought it was necessary," Lyra continued. "I thought humans were monsters who deserved to die. That is what my father taught me. That is what I believed." She finally turned to look at him. Her violet eyes were wet with tears. "But you are not monsters," she whispered. "You are just people. I murdered 3,000 of you for nothing. Why are you telling me this? Taiho asked. Because I expected you to execute me, Lyra said. When I was captured, I thought death was certain. I wanted it. I deserved it. But instead, you brought me to your home. You let your mother feed me soup. You treat me with kindness that I do not deserve. She shook her head. I do not understand you, Taiho. I do not understand humans at all. Taiho was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with old pain. I bombed a Vellani colony from orbit, he said. 30,000 dead. I saw images afterward. Families burned to ash. Children who never knew why fire fell from the sky. Lyra stared at him. War makes monsters of everyone, Taiho said. The question is not what we did. The question is what we become after. Do we let our guilt destroy us? Or do we try to be better? Can we be better? Lyra asked. After everything we have done? I do not know, Taiho admitted. But I am trying. Maybe that is enough. They stood together in the garden. Two people who had been enemies, carrying the weight of their sins. Neither of them had answers. But for the first time, Lyra did not feel alone. A few days later, everything changed again. A government message arrived. Emperor Riven was demanding the return of his daughters. He was threatening to restart the war if Earth refused Dot at the same time. News spread that alien princesses were living on Earth. Crowds gathered outside Taiho's house. Some people demanded that the princesses be executed for war crimes. Others wanted them used as hostages till the peaceful days were over. You should give us back, Lyra told Taiho. It would end the crisis. Your father will use you to justify more war, Taiho replied. You know this. Then what do we do? Sora stepped forward. Her violet eyes were determined. We choose, she said. For the first time in our lives, we choose our own path. We stay here. We help end this conflict. We become something more than our father's daughters. Lyra looked at her little sister. Then she looked at Taiho. If we stay, she said slowly, we betray everything we were raised to believe. Maybe, Sora said. Or maybe we finally become who we were meant to be. The choice was made. The princesses would stay, and nothing would ever be the same. Two Vellani princesses stood before cameras in New Seoul and spoke words that no one expected to hear. They denounced their father. They called the war unjust. They asked for asylum on Earth. Our father lied to our people, Lyra said, her silver face calm and steady. He told us humans were monsters. He told us they wanted to destroy the Vellani Empire. These were lies. Humans fight hard, but they are not evil. They are just people trying to survive. We will not return to be used as tools of war, Sora added. We choose peace. We choose Earth. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, millions of beings argued about what this meant. Some called the princesses traitors. Others called them heroes. On Earth, the reaction was equally divided. But for Taiho, the broadcast meant one thing. The princesses were now in more danger than ever. Emperor Riven was furious. His own daughters had publicly humiliated him. Intelligence reports said he was sending assassins to Earth. The princesses had to be protected at all costs. Taiho moved them to a secure facility in the mountains. Human soldiers guarded every entrance. Automated defenses watched the skies. It should have been safe. It was not. The assassins came on a night of heavy rain. They moved like shadows, slipping past guards and disabling security systems with terrifying efficiency. They were the best killers the Vellani Empire had to offer. Taiho woke to the sound of gunfire. He grabbed his weapon and ran toward the princess's quarters. In the hallway, he found 2 dead guards and 3 Vellani assassins moving toward the door. Stop, he shouted. The assassins turned. They were fast, incredibly fast, but Taiho had been fighting Villani for 3 years. He knew how they moved. He knew how they thought. The battle was brutal. Taiho killed the first assassin with a shot to the head. The second one got close enough to cut his arm with a blade before Taiho broke his neck. The third was the most dangerous, a female warrior with coal black eyes. She was faster than him, stronger than him. Her blade sliced his chest, his leg, his shoulder. Taiho fell against the wall, bleeding badly. The assassin raised her blade for the killing blow. The door behind her opened. Sora stood there, her violet eyes wide with fear. The assassin turned toward her, blade ready. Taiho did not think. He threw himself forward, putting his body between the assassin and Sora. The blade meant for Sora went through his back instead. He fell. The assassin pulled her blade free, preparing to finish him. But before she could strike, a blast of silver energy hit her from behind. Lyra stood in the doorway, her hands still glowing. The assassin collapsed, dead. Taiho! Sora screamed, dropping to her knees beside him. He could not feel his body anymore. Everything was cold. His vision was going dark. "It is bad," he heard Lyra say. "Too much damage. Even with Villani healing." "Then we heal him together," Sora said fiercely. "Both of us. I have not used my healing abilities in years. They are weak. I might not. Try." Sora grabbed her sister's hands. "He saved our lives. He saved my life just now. We have to try." Taiho felt hands on his chest. Then warmth, like sunlight breaking through clouds. It spread through his body, fighting the cold, pushing back the darkness. He opened his eyes. 2 faces looked down at him. Silver skin glowing with effort. Violet eyes filled with tears and determination. The princesses were pouring everything they had into him, using power that was slowly killing them. "Stop," Taiho whispered. "You will hurt yourselves." "Be quiet," Lyra said through gritted teeth. "We are saving your life whether you like it or not." "Why?" he asked. Sora looked at him with eyes full of emotion. "Because some humans are worth saving." Lyra's voice was softer. "Because you showed us what honor truly means." The healing continued. Minutes passed like hours. When it was finally over, all 3 of them collapsed on the floor, exhausted and barely conscious. Taiho woke in a medical bed. Sunlight streamed through the window. He was alive, though his body ached in ways he did not know were possible. He turned his head and saw Sora sitting in a chair beside his bed. She looked tired but smiled when she saw him wake. "You scared us," she said softly. "I am hard to kill," Taiho replied. Sora laughed, and the sound was beautiful. "Yes, you are. Lyra is resting." The healing took much from her. She is not used to using her powers like that. "She saved me," Taiho said. "Both of you did." "You saved us first," Sora pointed out. "You took a blade meant for me. Why?" Taiho thought about the question. The answer was simple, but saying it out loud was hard. "Because I could not watch you die," he said finally. "I would rather die myself than let that happen." Sora's violet eyes filled with tears. She took his hand in hers. "In Villani culture," she said quietly, "when someone saves your life, a bond is formed. A deep bond that cannot be broken. You saved us. We saved you. We are connected now, Taiho. Forever. Is that a bad thing?" he asked. Sora smiled through her tears. "No, I think it might be the best thing that ever happened to me." The door opened, and Lyra walked in. She looked at their joined hands but said nothing about it. "You should be resting," Taiho told her. "I needed to see that you were alive," Lyra said. She stood at the foot of his bed, her arms crossed. But her eyes were softer than he had ever seen them. "You are a fool, Taiho. Throwing yourself in front of a blade like that. Would you prefer I let your sister die? Of course not. Lyra sighed. But watching you almost die was difficult. More difficult than I expected. Lyra, Sora said gently. The elder princess shook her head. I spent my whole life believing that I needed no one. That emotions were weakness. But then you came along, human. You and your stubborn honor and your ridiculous courage. And now, she stopped, unable to finish. Now we care about you. Sora finished for her. Both of us. We do not want to leave your side, Taiho. We want to stay with you. Whatever that means. Taiho looked at the two princesses. Silver skin and violet eyes. Aliens from a world far away. His enemies not long ago. Now something much more. Then stay, he said simply. Before anyone could say more, an alarm began to sound. A soldier burst into the room. Sir, Valani ships have appeared at the edge of the solar system. A massive fleet. They are headed for Earth. Emperor Riven had come for his daughters, and he intended to burn Earth to the ground. 500 warships darkened the space between Mars and Earth. It was the largest Valani force ever assembled, 3 times bigger than anything humans had faced during the war. On Earth, panic spread through the cities. People remembered the horrors of the previous war. They remembered the burning colonies and the dead children. Now the enemy was back, and this time they had come to finish the job. But humans did not surrender. They never had. They never would. For the first time in history, every nation on Earth united. Old enemies became allies. Resources were shared without question. Every ship capable of flight joined the defense fleet. They were still outnumbered 3-1, but they would fight anyway. Taiho stood on the bridge of the unyielding dawn, once again wearing his captain's uniform. Admiral Dongyun had called him back to active duty. The war hero was needed one more time. Lyra and Sora stood beside him. They had refused to stay behind. We started this, Lyra had said. We will see it through. Now they watched the Valani fleet approach on the main screen. Hundreds of ships, each one carrying weapons capable of destroying cities. We cannot win this through combat alone, Taiho said. We need another way. Lyra stepped forward. I have an idea. A dangerous one. Tell me. My father controls his fleet through fear and lies, Lyra explained. Many Valani commanders did not want this war. They fight because they are afraid of what will happen if they refuse. If we show them the truth, some might stop fighting. What truth? Admiral Dongyun asked. The truth about how the war started, Sora said. Our father provoked humans into conflict deliberately. He manufactured incidents, killed his own people, and blamed humans. We have proof. We can broadcast it to the entire fleet. The Admiral considered this. Even if some ships stand down, we will still be badly outnumbered. Then we fight the ones who remain, Taiho said. But fewer enemies is better than more enemies. The plan was set. The princesses would make a broadcast on all Valani frequencies. At the same time, the human fleet would position itself between Earth and the enemy dot as the battle approached. Taiho found a moment alone with Lyra and Sora. If this goes wrong, he said, I want you to escape. Take a shuttle and run. No, Lyra said firmly. We will not leave you. Sora agreed. Whatever happens, we face it together. Taiho looked at them. These two alien women who had changed his life so completely. He had started as their captor. Now he could not imagine existing without them. Together then, he said. The battle began. Emperor Riven's voice boomed across all channels. Surrender my daughters, and I will show mercy. Refuse, and I will burn your world until nothing remains. In response, Lyra and Sora appeared on every screen in both fleets. People of the Valani Empire, Lyra said. Your emperor has lied to you. This war was built on deception. She began showing evidence, documents, recordings, proof of manufactured attacks and false flag operations. Our father murdered our own people to create an excuse for war, Sora continued. He does not care about the Empire. He only cares about power. Please, stop fighting for his lies. The effect was immediate. Dozens of Vellani ships stopped advancing. Their commanders had suspected the truth for years. Now they had proof, but Emperor Riven still controlled the majority of the fleet. His loyal followers pushed forward, guns blazing. All ships engage! Admiral Dong Yun ordered. The battle that followed would be remembered for centuries. Human ships fought with desperate courage. They were outgunned and outmatched, but they refused to retreat. Taiho flew the Silent Fury into the heart of the enemy formation, destroying ship after ship with skill that seemed almost superhuman. But it was not enough. The Vellani kept coming. Earth's defenders fell one by one. We need to end this, Taiho said. We need to stop Riven himself. His flagship, Lyra said, pointing at the largest ship in the enemy fleet. If we destroy it, his loyal forces will lose coordination. Getting there will be suicide, the Admiral warned. Then it will be a good death, Taiho replied. He pushed the Silent Fury forward, weaving through enemy fire, heading straight for Riven's flagship. Lyra and Sora stayed by his side, working the ship systems, helping him survive impossible situations. They reached the flagship and docked through a damaged section of the hull. Inside, they fought through corridors filled with guards. Taiho led the way, his weapons never stopping. Finally, they reached the throne room. Emperor Riven stood waiting. He was tall and powerful, his silver skin darker than his daughter's, his eyes filled with cold fury. Energy crackled around his body. His telepathic powers were legendary. My traitorous children, he said, and their pet human. How fitting that I will kill all three of you together. Your fleet is breaking apart, Father, Lyra said. Your lies are exposed. This is over? Over? Riven laughed. Nothing is over while I live. He attacked. Telepathic force slammed into Taiho, trying to crush his mind. It was like nothing he had ever felt before, pure mental pressure. That would drive a normal person insane. But Taiho was not normal. He had been fighting Vellani for years. His implants protected him, and his will was iron. He charged forward. The Emperor was a powerful telepath, but he had never been a warrior. Taiho was. They fought hand to hand, and Taiho was faster, stronger, more skilled. In moments, Riven was on the floor, Taiho's blade at his throat. Surrender, Taiho said. Riven looked up at him with hatred. Then he looked at his daughters, the children who had betrayed him, who had sided with his enemies. I would rather die than surrender to humans, he said. He grabbed a hidden blade and drove it into his own heart. The Emperor of the Vellani was dead, with their leader gone. The remaining loyal ships stopped fighting. The battle was over. Earth was saved. The war had finally ended. 1 year later, the Vellani Empire was no more. In its place stood the Vellani Republic, with Lyra as its first elected leader. She had not wanted the position, but her people needed her. Someone had to rebuild what her father had destroyed. Taiho stood in the great hall of the new capital, watching as Lyra gave her inauguration speech. She spoke of peace, of cooperation with humans, of a future where no child would grow up learning to hate other species. When the speech ended, Lyra and Sora walked toward him. They were wearing formal robes of silver and white, looking like something from an ancient dream. Ambassador Taiho, Lyra said with a small smile. Thank you for coming. I would not miss this, he replied. Sora stepped close to him. We have missed you, she said softly. This past year has been difficult, being apart. For me as well, Taiho admitted. Lyra glanced around to make sure no one was watching. Then she and Sora performed the Villani gesture of profound love, pressing their foreheads to his. "Stay with us," Lyra whispered. "Not as an ambassador, as something more. We do not want to be apart from you ever again," Sora added. "Please, Taiho, stay." Taiho looked at them, these two women who had been his prisoners, his enemies, and then his saviors. The road had been long and painful. They had all done terrible things during the war, but they had also found something precious together, something worth fighting for. "Yes," he said, "I will stay." Together, the three of them walked out of the great hall and into the garden beyond. Twin suns were setting over the Villani homeworld, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. "Some bonds," Lyra said quietly, "watching the sunset, cannot be broken by distance, species, or time." Sora took Taiho's hand. Lyra took the other. They stood together as the suns went down, three people from different worlds, united by war and pain, and ultimately by love. The galaxy was vast and full of danger. There would be more challenges ahead, more battles to fight, more wrongs to right, but they would face it all together, and that was enough.